Remodelers and custom builders, are you spending money on Google or Meta ads? If so, this is for you. I'm going to share 4 lessons and takeaways from personally spending over $250,000 in digital ads in 2024. For context, I used to spend virtually nothing on digital advertising for my business. For many years, it was under $10,000 per year, and really, it was closer to zero. Now, why didn't I? We primarily grew our business based on content marketing, referrals, and word of mouth. As we continued to grow, we began to look at other channels to accelerate that growth. For a few years, we dabbled in Meta ads and Google, but really, if I'm being honest, we weren't taking it seriously. Meaning, the budget was pretty low, we were running a set it and forget it strategy, which meant we weren't really running any tests, and also we weren't tracking it properly. I hit a point where I really needed to take a hard look at these channels, so I started with Google Ads. And over about 20 months, we scaled our ad spend from $2,000 per month to over $15,000 per month and several $1,000s per month on Meta on top of that. During that 20 months, I learned quite a bit. My goal for this video is to pull some of those lessons forward to you. Lesson number 1, Google Ads can work extremely well, but you have to stick with them for 6 to 9 months minimum. Sometimes ads can start working immediately, but in my experience, it doesn't happen overnight. Even with all the targeting, correct settings, and great ad structure, Google goes through a learning phase, and you'll need to be looking at conversions coming in to ensure that you're getting the right type of lead volume and quality. I encourage you not to give up on them too early. Think about this. Would it be worth investing in ads, testing, tweaking, adjusting for 2 years if at the end of those 2 years, you had a campaign that was producing the number of leads and the quality of leads that you wanted and allowed you to scale up your budget so you could hit your company revenue growth goals? It's a short-term pain and investment for a long-term goal. It's only a money loss on a 2-year timeline. But if you have a longer time horizon of 3 to 5 years or 10 plus years for growing your business, the investment typically pays off. So stick with it until you have a campaign that's working. I have a good friend who works in finance, and he says that the best returns come from letting the winners ride versus selling them too early. Once you have a winning ad campaign, step on the gas and ride it hard. Lesson number 2, you can spend a lot more than you think, and you're not going to saturate the market. Think about how many people are in your target audience. Probably a minimum of tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, depending on the size of your city. To get repeated exposure in front of tens of thousands of people, or even thousands, isn't going to be accomplished on $2,000 a month, $5,000 a month, or even $10,000 a month. You can spend more than you think. Lesson number 3, be aware of seasonality. Supply and demand are powerful market forces. When we hit Q4, especially November and December, demand for remodeling and custom home building screeches to a halt for the most part. This doesn't necessarily mean that you need to decrease your ad spend, but it may be time to pivot strategy. Although the purchasing of remodels and custom homes goes down, people are still researching. This can be a great time to capture a lot more what we call top of the funnel leads and then be primed and ready to pull them into your sales funnel in Q1 and Q2. If you just scale back your advertising, you'll miss out when demand pops back up due to the typical seasonality in a year. It can be somewhat painful spending the money for a few months and seeing your sales meetings and your sales inquiries just dropping off. But if you understand the seasonality and make the required adjustments, you'll see a bigger lift coming right out of the slower demand season. I experienced this in a big way myself this past year. For 2 months, our marketing investment stayed strong, but our sales meetings dropped off by about 50%. Then, after the slow season, it popped right back up. My takeaway for you is to understand your seasonality and work it to your advantage. Sell when it's time to sell and pull in top of funnel leads during the slow season. Lesson number 4, you have to know your numbers. If you don't know what you can afford to spend to acquire a customer, running ads will be an extremely painful experience because it will almost always certainly feel like you're spending too much and not getting a return. In my experience, people only say that when they don't know their numbers. If you want to know what those numbers are, check out the video before. 7 remodeler sales and marketing metrics you must track. It feels expensive. I don't feel like this is working. We shouldn't be feeling anything. It's either working or it's not. So how do you know what you can afford to spend to acquire the customer? Quick back of the napkin math is to take your average job size times your average gross margin and divide by 3. Ideally, your all-in sales and marketing to acquire a customer should be 3 to 1 or more. If you want to be a bit more conservative, take your gross margin and divide it by 4. If you know your numbers, you'll know for sure if your ads are working, not if you feel they're working. If you're spending on digital ads, I hope this gave you a lot of clarity. We'll see you next time here on Builder Funnel TV.